Welcome to The Explainer. We're here to break down some really big ideas, and today's is a giant.
All right, let's just dive right in with a pretty provocative question. We're going to explore the anatomy of a concept that, let's be honest, we all think we know: the devil.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, the source material argues we have to understand that Satan wasn't this single static figure. It was a concept that was actually built piece by piece over thousands of years. So here's the key. We're not really investigating a supernatural being. What we're doing is tracing the biography of an idea. And, by following its story, we might just learn a thing or two about ourselves. So if this idea was built, where did all the pieces come from? Let's follow the historical breadcrumbs and see exactly how this incredibly powerful figure was put together, one culture at a time.
I mean, check this out. It wasn't like, poof, one day the devil just appeared. The idea started way back with Zoroastrianism and its cosmic battle between good and evil. That trickled down into Jewish folklore, giving us specific demons. Then, early Christianity really cranked it up, framing its whole mission as a war against a literal devil's kingdom. And all of this just exploded in the Middle Ages, when demonology became this terrifying, all-consuming obsession. And this is where the story of an idea gets incredibly dark. We are not talking about some dusty, abstract theological debate here. This idea had the power of life and death over real people. Just let that number sink in for a second. At the height of the Inquisition, over 100,000 people were accused of working with the devil. And an accusation wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It was a death sentence. It meant horrific torture and public executions. People literally being burned at the stake. And all of it, every last bit, was done to fight a supernatural evil that, as this analysis suggests, was a human invention all along.
And this leads us to a pretty stark conclusion from the source material. The argument is that the real destructive force wasn't some mythical creature. It was the human institution that invented the idea and then weaponized it against its own people.
Okay, but that's one part of the story. What about Islam? How does this concept show up in the Quran? Well, the answer from the source material might actually surprise you.
So the source did something really fascinating. It went through and analyzed every single one of the 88 mentions of Shaitan in the Quran. And the results? They kind of flipped the script. The huge majority, like 66%, are not talking about a monster with horns. They're talking about human adversaries. Another chunk refers to our own negative psychological states, pride, envy. Only a tiny fraction are about the classic creation story.
So what did this mean in practice? It meant that human opponents, the polytheists in Mecca, political rivals, they were the ones being labeled as shaitans. The word was being used more like a description, meaning adversary, not the proper name of some fallen angel.
And here's a perfect example of how meaning can get twisted over time. The source points to the phrase, touched by Satan. Now, to its original audience, this was just a common Arabic idiom. It was a figure of speech they used to describe a physical ailment, like a stroke or epilepsy. But later on, people took it literally, as proof that demons were actually possessing people.
And what about the most famous story of them all? Iblis, or Satan, refusing to bow down to Adam? Well, this analysis suggests it was never meant to be a literal history of heaven. It was a powerful analogy, a cautionary tale, aimed right at the arrogant tribal leaders of Mecca who were dissing the Prophet Muhammad. The message was pretty clear. Hey, pride leads to a fall. Don't end up like him.
So you gotta ask, right? If Satan is a human-made construct, why did we make it? What is it for? Well, the argument is that it's one of the most powerful political tools ever invented. And once you see this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere, throughout all of history. Calling your enemy the devil or Satan isn't just about saying they're wrong. It's about saying they are fundamentally evil. It's a tactic that might have started in religion, but wow, has it found a comfortable home in modern politics?
Because that's the real power move, isn't it? The label Satan just shuts down all conversation. It turns people, human beings with different ideas, into monsters. It makes conflict not just an option, but a necessity, because who wouldn't want to fight a demon?
Okay, this all brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. And this one gets a little more personal. It brings this whole ancient concept right inside our own heads.
So the final challenge this analysis leaves us with is this. What if we've been looking for evil in all the wrong places? Looking out there for some monster with a pitchfork.
When the entire concept, built up over all these thousands of years, was really just a mirror, reflecting the monster that's in here.
And that's the ultimate reinterpretation. Satan, not as a being, but as a powerful metaphor. It's the name we gave to the parts of ourselves that we're scared of, the parts we don't understand, our pride, our greed, our capacity for cruelty. The devil isn't an enemy we fight, it's a symbol for our own shadow side.
Which leaves us with one last really powerful thought. If we, as humans, could invent an idea as powerful and as destructive as the devil, what else are we capable of creating? The story of Satan, then, it's not just about religion. It's about the incredible, awesome power of our own imagination to shape our world, for good and for evil. And maybe, just maybe, understanding the monsters we create is the very first step to understanding ourselves.